Hi, I'm Ivan Granger with Codence in Full City, and I wanted to do a quick walkthrough of the FM Clipboard tool with you to see how to use this tool in ways that allow you to access some of the underlying code in powerful ways in your FileMaker files. So first of all, let me just mention that this utility file requires the BaseElements plugin, which is free, and this file itself will install it for you if you don't already have it running with your copy of FileMaker. So it'll take care of all of that. And what this utility does is, you know how when you copy schema elements in FileMaker, like tables, fields, scripts or script steps, layout objects, custom functions, all of those elements, you can copy it from FileMaker, paste it elsewhere in the same file or in another file, and it works beautifully. But when you copy it, and then if you try to paste just into a text field, you don't see anything. You don't actually see the code that's being passed on your clipboard. And that's because FileMaker wraps it in a special binary encoded wrapper that prevents you from normally accessing it. But this tool allows you to see what's passing hidden on your clipboard in order to review the underlying code and, if necessary, make any changes you want. So let's take an example of how you might utilize this. I'm going to go over to a demo file I have here. Get that open. And this is just a basic demo file with dummy data in it and all. But I have a script here. This is following along with the example in the accompanying blog article. But so I have a script here, and it has a number of instances of this variable contact select. You can see it there, contact select. And suppose I want to change every instance of that variable to contact ID for some reason, from contact select to contact ID. Maybe we have a new naming convention we want to apply throughout. There could be any number of reasons. This is really kind of a simplistic example, but you can imagine all sorts of cases where you need to make multiple changes, whether to scripts, to layout objects. There are a lot of examples there. And trying to use FileMaker's normal manual UI to hunt down and change every single instance can be quite a project. Now, in some cases, there are other developer tools that will allow us to do this more efficiently, but let me show you this one powerful way that allows you to access the underlying code and make rapid changes in multiple cases throughout. So what I'm going to do is, I could copy the entire script here, but I know that all of the instances of this variable occur within this chunk of script steps. So I'm just going to copy these script steps, Command C, and when I come over here to our clipboard tool and click into our workspace, if I was to just do Command V, nothing happens, because if you're just pasting a copied schema into a text field or text edit or something like that, you won't see anything. But if I click instead, I still have that on my clipboard. If I click this, paste schema, suddenly you see a whole lot of XML here. These are the XML representations of the script steps that I copied to the clipboard. And you can see, for example, that there is a step here being defined. And here's my variable name, contact select. And I could just go through and read this, and you can really translate this fairly easily, begin to understand it. And I could, if I wanted to, just manually come in here and change that field to contact ID. But since I know I have a number of instances, and in some cases it may be embedded in layers of a calculation, something like that, I'm going to use the find replace function here. And now I want to make sure I have it set to current record only and current field if I'm doing it within FileMaker, so I don't start changing other records I have stored in the file. And I've already got it preset. I'm looking for contact select, and I'm changing it to contact ID. And let's just go ahead and do replace all. And it's going to do that. And it replaced 4 instances. And let's take a look here. So there we go. That was contact select. Now it says contact ID, and all 4 instances in that chunk of code is there. So I've updated the underlying XML code, or FileMaker XML, FMXML, but how do I get that back into the actual script? All I have to do is click this. What that does is that puts it onto my clipboard in a format that FileMaker will recognize as being properly formatted to paste in as the schema again. So let's come back over here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to disable the steps I had just highlighted in my initial copy. So those are still there. I haven't yet deleted them, but I'm going to now do Command V, and that should be my updated steps. And you can now see this is no longer contact select, it's contact ID. Same there, and I know there's somewhere down here as well. All 4 of those got updated, and I can now save that script, and I can run it, and it should work beautifully. Now, of course, I want to just have a quick caution that anytime we're coming over here and modifying the underlying FMXML code, that we can sometimes bypass FileMaker's UI error trapping processes. So we want to pay attention to what we're doing. Normally, it's a good idea anytime we're making these sorts of under the hood changes to run careful tests before deploying in real world solutions to make sure we haven't introduced some sort of error in the code logic underlying it. But think of some of the examples of layout changes. If you have to make dozens of changes that are virtually identical throughout a series of layout objects on a layout, you can just do that as well. You'll come up with all sorts of examples. One other thing I want to mention about the FM Clipboard tool itself is that you don't have to just edit things right here in the workspace in the Clipboard tool. If you prefer to work with an external text editor like Visual Studio Code or something like that, it's easy enough to take this code here, copy the text. So you're copying just the text you've pasted in here. Go to your editor. Let's see here. I've got Visual Studio Code open, and I can paste it in here as well. And then that gives me access to all of the very powerful tools that modern text editors and code editors give us. And then once I have that modified here, I can copy it all, come back here, maybe even create a new snippet, paste the modified version there, and again, copy from there to the clipboard and ultimately come over to my FileMaker file and paste it in. All right, that's a quick walkthrough. I hope that helps you get started with the FM Clipboard tool. Begin to think creatively of some of the powerful things you can do when you have access to this underlying FMXML code, and how it might be of use to you in some of those tricky situations where you'd had to just very carefully go through and make multiple changes or modifications in some way. This might speed up that process if you think about it.